If you could change any choices you have ever made, would you? You can always make another choice and change the course of your success. Everyone has the potency to make inspired choices. Get ready to listen, share, and experience the creativity that is you. Now, here is the host of Inspired Choices radio show, Holographist coach, Christine McIver.
Well, hello. Welcome, my friends. Thank you so much for joining me today. Whether you are listening live or you are listening in the replay, I'm very grateful that you are here and you've chosen to spend the next bit of time, about 55 minutes to an hour, with me, your host, on the Inspired Choices radio show. So we've got a special show for you lined up tonight. We've got a number of topics actually lined up right through the end of the year that you can check out on my show here on the Inspired Choices Network. You just go to the hosts and you will find me under there, Christine McIver, and my radio show, of course, is called Inspired Choices. We are really going to be diving deep into one of my most favorite subjects in many different angles, under many different topics. And my favorite subject is business. I absolutely love talking about business. I love looking at business. I love playing with business. All things business lights me up. And for some people out there, not so much. And yet, they're choosing to be in business. So tonight, this is what this is all about. Tonight's subject is called Finding Your Sweet Spot in Business. Now, before we get deeply into that, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. If this is the first time you're joining me, welcome. I am someone who loves to create, and I'm also someone who is very aware of where we are cutting off ourselves in our lives, in the world around us, whether you're talking about business, you're talking about relationships, even you're talking about yourself and the joy that you have with yourself. I have been working with individuals for more than 25 years. I started out in human resources, and then after that, I evolved into my own business. And one of the things that I absolutely know is that I have got a capacity to really show people where they are brilliant and some of the steps that they can take in order to shine in their own lives even greater. So I have a number of different packages that I offer. I offer one-on-one sessions with everyone who is interested in seeing if there's a match. In fact, your first half hour with me, there's no charge. So you can contact me, Christine, at inspiredchoices.ca, and we can set that up. Or maybe you're somebody that's ready to dive in and really make some significant changes. I actually have a strategic business coaching package. It's 7 hours where you're going to work with me, not necessarily 7 hours in a row, but you're going to work with me and we're going to actually dive into what is working in your business and what is not working in your business. And we're going to look at really what is asking to be changed and what is asking to really get your attention in order to grow you in a greater direction. Whether that has to do with social media, whether that has to do with strategizing about the direction of your business, maybe it's even looking at pricing, or perhaps it's looking at how you can really step into the potency of your capacities. Maybe you need some support in one of those directions or another, or maybe all of them. The 7 hours when you're working with me is usually the regular price is $1,750 Canadian. And right now I have a special on, and it's on for only $1,000 Canadian. So that's just over about $110 an hour. And I'm telling you, I'm going to bring all my expertise to the table to support you, to assist you in growing in whatever direction it is that you are looking to grow. So normally my one-on-one sessions for 1 hour is $250, but I have this fabulous package on. So let me know if that's something that you're really looking at possibly leaning into. And let's make some changes for you fast. I am all about speed. Let me tell you, I love to see change, and I love to see change quickly. And if anything, people will tell you that I am tenacious about getting things done correctly. All right? Not that there's a right or a wrong, but if you want it done, let's get it done correctly. I also have a class that 3 hours. It's a product that's called Bust Doubt Out. Do you have doubt in your world? Do you step back and really question yourself before you take action? Are you constantly hearing that voice of doubt in your head? I have 3 calls that I did back to back, and you can get those 3 calls, and I'm telling you that they're one of the most favorite things I have ever created. There's dynamic questions, there's action items to really bust doubt out of your world. And the product's called Bust Doubt Out. And you can get that for only $50 Canadian. Again, come on over to my website, inspiredchoices.ca, where you can learn more and more about that. All right, so let's get into tonight. We're talking about finding your sweet spot in business. Now, if you're already in business, this might even be more important to you now than it ever was, even before you thought about getting into business. One of the biggest things that I know is that in business, oftentimes we don't actually know what it is that we're good at, or we don't know what it is that we really enjoy doing until we kind of get into it, right? And we jump into it and we start to actually dance with our business and dance with our desires. And so that's a really, really important thing to kind of be like, okay, this is something that I want. I'm going to jump into it. But you get into it. And this is true for me, and it's true for so many people. You start doing your business, and then you start, as I was talking about before, doubting yourself and questioning yourself. And then the joy, and I wonder if this is anybody else can relate to this, the joy and the excitement starts to wane, and then you might get a surge of it again, of excitement, and then it starts to wane again, all right? This is a normal process, okay? So that's the very first thing that I want you to remember is that the actual love affair that you had when your idea of starting your own business came up for you, that love affair can sour and can kind of go in and out. And that's okay. That's normal. All right? Yeah, it is, like Jen in the chat room says, the ebb and flow is such a wild ride. It is a wild ride. My friends, the very first thing I want you to remember is that if you've never been in business before, or you've never been in this type of business that you're in today, then you've never done it before. So if you were learning to ride a bike, you certainly wouldn't ride it perfectly out of the gate, right? And that's something that's so, so important to remember. And so the first thing we want to talk about is, what the heck is business? And I'm going to read for you. Hold on, I've got a little tickle in my throat. Just 1 second. Okay, my throat wanted to be all ready for talking. Okay, so what is business? The original etymology of business, is business is care, anxiety, and occupation. Careful, anxious, busy, occupied, and diligent. Can you believe that? Can you actually believe that it's an old English definition, and that's what the definition is? That is absolutely fascinating to me. So when we're talking about business, I'm going to challenge you to really look at, what does business mean to you? Like, what's the definition you've been walking around with business in your mind? I can tell you that one of the definitions that I had about business is the way to make money. So that's part of this. It's talking about an occupation. But it's not solely talking about an occupation or a way to generate money. And it certainly doesn't speak to creativity or coming up with figuring out what you love to do, right? And what you love to do, and to share that with the world, right? It really goes on to say it's a person's work or occupation, that which one does for a livelihood. Is first recorded in the late 14th century. It appears as a noun, again, an occupation or a state of employment, that which is undertaken as a duty. As a duty. Wow, right? Think about that. We talk about it as in commerce. We talk about it as in pursuing something. But the pieces that I find so interesting here is that anxiety and care and busy is attached to it. So how many of us actually have the definition in our mind as one thing and the actual energy of the word? Because if you've never heard this before, the original definition of a word has an energy with that word, associated with that word. And when you learn about the original definition of a word, that can then give you a lot of information and kind of make you go, wow, okay, this makes a lot more sense when I'm using that word, that's what it's been creating for me. So how many of you out there have actually been anxious about your business? And how much of your world is filled with anxiety in your business? Okay? What if we were to start to turn the word around? Really, do we need to use the word business? What other word can we be using to define the act of creating, sharing, and generating excitement, nourishment with our joy, and financial prosperity? What other word could we be using? What if we were to use creation? The word creation, in my mind, if you look at the acts of what we do in our businesses, right, it really speaks to creation more than it speaks to anxiety, doesn't it? Right? So let's start to really get the energy of creation flowing in our businesses, in what we do, in really creating economy and joy in our lives. So if you were to start right now really looking at what it is that you have been doing and what it is that you originally thought about doing, do those two experiences match up today? Again, if you are in business and have been for a while, please go back and look at originally what it is that turned you on about saying yes to being independent, creating and generating economic prosperity for yourself. Look at that. We're going to take a quick break, but during this break, I want you to think about where you were when that first energy came to you about the excitement of creation, and where you are today, and what has taken place between those two time periods. What have you experienced? What has really been going on, and what do you think actually created the different states of being in those two time periods? That's a really important piece, because when you know what has actually changed, that's where we can start to look at it, and that's where we can start to really unlock a place where you may not be feeling like you are in the sweet spot of your business. All right? So we're going to take our first break. You are listening to Inspired Choices with myself, Christine McIver, here on the Inspired Choices Network. Stay tuned, everybody. I have a lot more I want to share about finding your sweet spot in business. We'll be right back.
Many of us make choices in our lives based on our past experiences or what others believe. What would our lives be like if we made our choices based on what we desire for our futures? When you join Inspired Choices Radio Show with holographist coach Christine McIver, you'll be provoked to look at what is true and what you know but may not choose that requires your attention. Christine does not hold back and brings all her expertise during each and every show. Are you ready to create the life and the living you truly desire? Listen for Inspired Choices Radio Show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is Inspired Choices Radio Show with holographist coach Christine McIver. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255, Canada 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Christine@inspiredchoices.ca. Now, back to the program.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for being here tonight. We are talking about finding your sweet spot in business. Now, before we went for break, we got the definition of what the real definition of the word business, and it actually breaks down to anxious, careful, busy, occupied, diligent. It doesn't talk about joy, prosperity, creation, and that's what, when you are in joy and you are lit up and turned on and having a good time in your life creating, whether you're in the kitchen creating a beautiful meal, whether you're in a garden creating a gorgeous display of flowers, whether you are on the computer creating an amazing website, whether you are talking to people and creating joy and possibilities in their lives. Whatever it is that you do that is creative, and of course painting and sculptures and all sorts of different things that you can be creating, when you are in creation mode and that creation mode brings you joy, that is the very thing that you can actually be generating economic prosperity from. All right? A lot of people talk about taking their hobbies and making them their business. Okay? Now, I am not opposed to that, but what I really want people to look at is if their hobby is something that they would be interested in doing every single day. I can tell you that one of my things that I absolutely love to do, and it gives me a great deal of joy, is baking. My dear friends and lots of my listeners will know that I love to bake. One of my favorite things to bake is pies. I could stand in the kitchen for 2 hours straight and make pies, and I would make like 8 or 10 pies or butter tarts. Oh my gosh. The butter tarts that I make will absolutely, and if you don't know what a butter tart is, email me because I'll tell you, I'll send you a butter tart. They are so delicious. They are absolutely tremendous. And I have so much ease and so much pleasure with baking. But I really did have to look at, is this something that I would want to do for the rest of my life? And is this something that would generate the prosperity that I desire to have in my business? And, on both of those questions, when I really checked in with what was true for me, it was a no. It was a no because it would take, if I did baking as a business, for me, it would take away something that was a pleasure for me to do occasionally, and it would actually create it as quote unquote work. All right? It would end up being a job, kind of like the definition of the word business. So what was important for me was to find something that I love to do, absolutely love to do, get a lot of pleasure from, and would be willing to do that every day and have it generate financial wealth in my world that would be supportive for my life. And so I originally went into human resources, and after about 15 years, that wasn't doing it for me. That was I was working for someone else, and it wasn't something I wanted to do in a business as independently. And I started to go into the area of that I loved it as part of human resources, which was motivating and inspiring and guiding other people to finding their joy. And that's where I started my own business, was professionally trained as a coach, and then started to expand my knowledge base to teach people specifically about what to do in business. So you see, I took skills and desires. And when I think about working with someone and starting to change their reality in what we do in business or what we do in talking about personal development work, whether it's relationships, whether it's parenting, whether it's even growing your self-confidence, that, my friends, lights me up. And I could talk about that all day long. That's where I knew, as I started to do things in my business, those were the things that I would get most excited about, but most especially after I finished working with someone, I felt so fulfilled and lit up, and I would actually get up from my desk and walk around with excitement, all right? And I just thought I was energized. Well, I was energized, but it was an intrinsic energy that was coming from within me because my body was showing me this was my sweet spot. Do you understand? So, thank you, Jen. Mic drop. I love it. If you're not playing with us in the chat room, my question is, why not? You can come in here and ask us questions. You can come in here and actually interact and learn more about finding your sweet spot. Now, let me back up to the beginning of when I started to do my business. I did human resources for more than 15 years, and I was really great in human resources. It's not that I was terrible at that job, but it ended up being a quote-unquote cop job. Like you were always, human resources people are cops, and they are oftentimes seen as somebody who has to be the mediator or someone that has to, try to make everybody happy. It's not a fun role. It certainly wasn't for me, and a lot of people that I know, they like their job to a certain extent, but it is really, really tough. So when I thought about starting my own business, the idea, and this is what was really interesting, when I thought about actually reaching out to people and going into companies and asking them if they would be interested in hiring me as a consultant, as an HR consultant, I just got this feeling in the pit of my stomach like I was going to throw up, okay? Do you ever get that feeling when you think about your business or when you think about aspects of your business? Listen to that. Your business is communicating with you through a lot of different ways, and one of the very fast ways is through your business. Through your body. If your business can catch your attention and work with your body to communicate with you, you need to listen up. And I just kept thinking, oh, I'm just scared, or I've just never done that before. But truth be told, I've done cold calling for years, I was in my own business. I sold skincare and makeup when I was in my early 20s, and talking to people, as you can tell, is not an issue for me. So I kind of just ignored that and that terrible feeling in my stomach. And then I would come back around to the idea of doing that, and I kept having that same experience. And there's a different experience between, oh my God, I think I'm going to be sick, or, oh my God, I'm nervous. Now, the energy of fear is the exact same energy of excitement. So use that knowledge to your advantage. Ask yourself, am I really afraid or am I excited? Okay? I've been doing radio now since 2011, and right before I get on the radio, and it still occurs today, and I tell all the hosts on the network, is that right before it happens, right before the radio starts, I actually get that same feeling. And today, I know it's not fear. I know it's excitement because I'm leaning into doing what I love to do. All right? So this is a really great tool to use, asking yourself, am I really afraid or am I excited? Listen to those nudges within your body. Listen to what is really reading true for you and what isn't. All right? Try to stay as much as you can out of your head, because here's where we get messed up. Business owners, people that are self-employed, okay? People that are self-employed will often be looking for the logical thing, the right thing, or what other people are doing to create income. And they will be pushing themselves through to do those things. Are you pushing yourself to do what you say you're doing as a self-employed individual? It's not great. It's kind of a crappy feeling, isn't it, to be pushing yourself each day? If you're not excited about even one aspect of what you're doing in your self-employment, you've got to step back and look at this, all right? Now, I can tell you that when I, went, okay, I'm not going to be doing knocking door to door for human resources, I did have some people reach out and ask if I would consult. And because I knew them and I knew it was only going to be a few hours a week, that was no problem. I still got to start to develop my skills as a self-employed individual. So I did start to coach some individuals. And out of coaching some individuals, some different aspects came up. So while you may not do something or want to do something for a very long period of time, be open to other possibilities showing up in your world. So what actually showed up for me was I had individuals that were in their own business or wanted to go into their own business, and I started to get excited because I was like, they would say to me, well, I don't know where to get started. And I said, well, I can help you. And so I started one of the business services that I used to do was I would actually develop a website. I was creating a lot of websites, and I was working with individuals around creating their website and then setting up their profiles and in different social media platforms. And yes, my beautiful, that's so funny. I totally forgot. My beautiful producer tonight, Jen, I actually developed her website with her way back a number of years ago when she first got started in her self-employment occupation. I forgot about that. That was funny. So 7 years ago, wow. And so I started to do that. And while I was developing websites, I was teaching myself new skills, and I was learning about my capacities, and I was learning about what I enjoyed and what I didn't enjoy. Now, there was a lot of time that it was fun for me, and then it started to get not so fun. It's kind of like the newness wore off on doing that skill. And then it started to get so heavy, and it started to become the thing that I did not want to do. It would light me up for a short period of time, and then it would be gone. Now, what aspect I love about working with people and talking about their website is really looking at aspects for them to put into their website and how to strategically develop it. But to actually do the labor of it, it no longer lights me up. Does that make sense? This is why it's important for you to try things and understand you can be good at a lot of things, but that does not mean that those are your sweet spots. But you're never going to find out if you don't try some things on, okay? You're never going to know if that outfit looks good on you if you don't put it on. You're also, as a self-employed individual, you're not going to know if you're really good at something and it's going to light you up if you don't try it on for a while. So here's the thing, is that be open, be totally open to new possibilities and opportunities coming your way, and be open to them looking nothing like what they look like today in your world. When I first started in my business, I had not coached a great number of people. I had never built a website except my own, and I hadn't even started. I didn't even know this world of radio, okay? When someone asked me, had I ever thought about being on the radio, my body lit up, okay? I didn't go into my head and go, wait a minute, I've never done that before. I don't know how to do it. How much is it going to cost? I didn't go down that road initially. What I initially did was I tapped into how that felt. What was my experience in first hearing that? As someone who is self-employed, you should be willing to try everything that crosses your path, because you're never going to find those sweet spots if you don't. Remember, you've never been in business before. You don't know what the future looks like, but it's going to look very dim if you're not willing to try new things. And I don't care whether you have been in business 5 minutes, 5 years, or 25 years. The more you are willing to be open to having more joy, more creation, and more prosperity in your world, the more things are going to come to you. All right, we're up for our second break. I've got so much to say. Come back. I really want to share all these things with you. It is so, so good. So you're listening to Inspired Choices with myself, Christine McIver, here on the Inspired Choices Network. Tonight, we are talking about finding your sweet spot in business. Nobody else's, yours. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Many of us make choices in our lives based on our past experiences or what others believe. What would our lives be like if we made our choices based on what we desire for our futures? When you join Inspired Choices radio show with holographist coach Christine McIver, you'll be provoked to look at what is true and what you know but may not choose that requires your attention. Christine does not hold back and brings all her expertise during each and every show. Are you ready to create the life and the living you truly desire? Listen for Inspired Choices radio show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you ready to have pleasure with your business? Yes, I said pleasure with your business. The Pleasure of Business a la carte will surprise you with topics like meet yourself in the boardroom, money, services, and you. Expand your visibility. The pleasure of communication. The pleasure of Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Christine McIver has so much pleasure with business and loves teaching all things business. Beginning a new business? Desiring to expand a current business? Or looking to resurrect a business that has been dormant? This program will get you fired up and bring more pleasure than you have ever imagined. Exhausted with your excuses for not creating a phenomenal business? Join now for all the pleasure with business. Pleasure of Business a la carte gives you total choice for what you desire and what your business requires. That's 24 weeks of different topics to choose from with weekly calls, audio and video recordings, and PDFs. This class will have you dive right in and use tools to create the business that has been speaking to you. Go to inspiredchoices.ca for full details or join the Facebook page Pleasure o' Business a la carte. Now is the time for you and your business.
This is Inspired Choices Radio Show with holographist coach Christine McIver. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255, Canada 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Christine@inspiredchoices.ca. Now, back to the program.
Oh, welcome back. Thank you so much for sticking around tonight. All right, we've got so much to cover. Oh my gosh, and we've only got 20 minutes left. You know, if you have a question and you're not able to join us live in the chat room in the evening, Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is when I have my show, then absolutely send me an email, Christine@inspiredchoices.ca. Or you can check me out. You can find me, send me a message on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. You'll find me on Twitter. You'll find me on all of those places. And when you do, we can really dive into what is really popping for you in this show and look at how things can be more of a sweet spot for you. One of the things that kind of came through me over break is, you know, logic has no business in creation. And let me expand on that. When you are operating from the space of logic, you are accessing knowledge that you already have, okay? So we're talking about old knowledge, and we're talking about old experiences. Well, if your self-employment is new in your reality, then logic cannot play a role in that in the initial stages of development, okay? So let's be really clear. If you are initially developing your business or you're looking for the sweet spot is still an initial stage creation, all right? You know, it's like if you look at different businesses, I remember when I was in college and I took a marketing course and we were looking at Tide, and we were looking at the different developments of their products. And I cannot remember the name. My marketing teacher would be very disappointed. I can't remember the name of this process. But it's a product is created. So Tide created their first product. And, you know, it starts out, you know, at very low sales. And then it starts to, you know, it looks like a line on a graph, and it starts to go up. And it may maintain a very high altitude in sales for quite a long time, and then it may start to wane. It may the sales may start to drop because there's new products out there that people are choosing. So then the company would come back and they would develop a new product similar to that one, so they didn't lose customer base, but something that might have like a lemon scent in it, or it might be organic, or, you know, it may come in a different container. It may, instead of being a powder, it's a liquid. And then each of these developmental periods would start at the low point again on the graph and then start to go up. And so these creation points are the beginning stages. Each time you're creating something new, you're at the beginning stages. So when you are there, logic has no business in there, okay? I hope that really makes sense to you. I want you to understand that in order for you to create something new and find what really could be a contribution and joyful and prosperous for you, you've got to leave your logic brain out of it. You've actually got to go into play and creation. And what's a wonderful way to play is getting your hands dirty in something new. Now, here's something you must keep in mind, that business has no place in creation. So if you are trying to take a new idea and you're trying to put it out there in the world before you've actually played with it, before you've actually tried it on for yourself, it's not going to land because you have not yet gotten acquainted with it, gotten to understand what it looks like for you, all right? So, you know, like going back to the idea of me developing websites. I developed my own website. I took the time and I learned it. Now, initially, it wasn't that much fun for me. It was something that was necessary. But as I started to learn how to develop it, it became fun for me. Okay? And then that's where I turned around and went, well, this was fun, and it started to get easy, so this is something that I could offer. You've got to be willing to continuously dance with creation in your business, and you've got to be willing to continuously hone and tweak the sweet spot. And you know what? You can absolutely have more than one sweet spot, all right? Today, I have, and a lot of people, they may not call it sweet spots, they may call it branches of their business. Okay, whatever you call it, different playgrounds within your business, all right? Do you feel the different energy when I say playground as opposed to business? One of the reasons that business can often feel heavy is because there's a lot of logic and things that we, quote unquote, have to do in our business. A few years back, I was, I tell you, truthfully, where I am today and where I was then is so different because I was mitered down in a lot of the have-tos in business. And I actually had a couple of really unstable accountants that I was working with. I was told they were good, and they turned out to just create crazy in my world. And because of it, I ended up actually being audited by the government. That was not fun, let me tell you. And I was mitered down in paperwork for months and months and months trying to prove what I spent money on and all of the rest of that. And I thought that was all taken care of with these people that I paid. It wasn't. When we have tasks that we must maintain in a business, those tasks can sometimes pull us away from the pleasure of our business. Now, I know you heard that commercial, The Pleasure of Business. That is a program that I developed. There's several weeks talking about all different aspects of business, and I bring all of my knowledge to the table to show you how each of those areas can be pleasurable. But those are doing things. They are action things. We're talking about finding your sweet spot. You've got to understand that finding your sweet spot or spots in business is different from the tasks that must be carried out. But here's something that I really want you to listen to. When you are willing to find your sweet spots and play with your sweet spots, all right, you are going to generate more financial prosperity. And then, my friends, you are going to be able to pay other people to do the logical aspects, the logical tasks of business. How does that feel? You know, a lot of people say, I don't like having to do social media. I don't like having to, train people. I don't like having to stay on top of taxes or stay on top of accounting. I don't like having to do this or that. You know what? Of course you don't, because that's not your area of expertise. Are you willing to find your area of expertise, hence your sweet spot, so that the people that can support and assist you to grow in your sweet spot, you can hire them where they are doing their sweet spot and they're doing it brilliantly. You see, it doesn't make any sense for you to struggle to do, let's say, accounting that would probably take you 4 or 5 times longer at least than a professional who accounting is their sweet spot. It doesn't make sense for you to spend 5 times the amount of time that it would take them when all of those hours you could be generating prosperity doing your sweet creations. All right? And a lot of people I know, they will nickel and dime themselves absolutely out of business because they'll say that doesn't make sense. I don't have the money to pay that person to do that job because I've not been generating the income. Well, you know what? I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to challenge you to play a lot more in your world and start to really look at what it is that would be fun for you, and what are the opportunities that are coming by that you are turning your nose up to, all right? Seriously, I was challenged many years ago. I was told that I would turn down a lot of opportunities, or I would ignore a lot of opportunities that came my way. And it was exactly what I needed to hear, because I went, hell no, I won't. And so the very first time I was asked, had I ever thought about producing a radio show, my logical brain started to jump in and go, that's not what I do. I'm a business coach. This is what I do, blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden I went, stop it. Stop it. Be willing to even ask some questions and explore. And one of the things that I often will say to myself is, what do you have to lose by giving this a try? What do you have to lose by giving this a try? And I'm going to tell you something, and this is something that can choke me up a great deal. But because I was willing to challenge myself, all right, today we have the Inspired Choices Network created. That this is my creation. And now I've had amazing people that have worked with me in creating it, but it definitely was something that I birthed. And today we have had well over 100 hosts creating amazing content that you can access, over 5,400 hours of creation, thousands of guests, and people who have been out there in the world sharing what they have learned and grown, and amazing reviews that have come back with us. And all of this started because I was willing to give something a second look. I was willing to play with it. Do you understand? You've got to understand that your opportunities, creation is not logical, okay? Creation is not logical. It can be fun and playful, and sometimes you don't know where something's going to fit in your business. But if you're not willing to give, something new, at least a second look, how are you ever going to discover if something is a sweet spot for you or not? All right? Producing radio shows days in and days out was not something that was exciting for me, not something that I thought about doing, okay? But what I get to do is I get to create, which I have done, created this amazing platform and start working with and inviting others to step into their brilliance and step into what they're doing and what is actually possible, okay? So we're going to go for our last break of the show. Come back. I want to tell you what we've got coming up in the next few weeks and how you can actually connect with me. So you are listening to Christine McIver here on the Inspired Choices radio show on the Inspired Choices Network. We'll be right back.
Many of us make choices in our lives based on our past experiences or what others believe. What would our lives be like if we made our choices based on what we desire for our futures? When you join Inspired Choices radio show with holographist coach Christine McIver, you'll be provoked to look at what is true and what you know but may not choose that requires your attention. Christine does not hold back and brings all her expertise during each and every show. Are you ready to create the life and the living you truly desire? Listen for Inspired Choices radio show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is Inspired Choices radio show with holographist coach Christine McIver. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255, Canada 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Christine at inspiredchoices.ca. Now, back to the program.
Well, welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for joining tonight. This is obviously, you can tell, talking about this is something that really lights me up. And you may not have the experience like I do when you're lit up, and that's okay. But what does excitement within you look like? Would you be willing to honestly tap into some of the things that bring you excitement and joy and see if anything in there would actually fit for you in your business? What I really want you to understand is if you are doing your self-employment from the space of logic and you are pulling yourself along to do this each and every day, the people that you are looking to have choose you in business or choose to purchase from you or hire you, while they may not have words for it, I would suspect that they know it's not so much fun to work with you. All right? If you're not having fun, look at the numbers that you're creating in your bank account. All right? Seriously, because the energy of the truth of you is going to surface. And so if you are not having joy and pleasure, if it's not fun for you at some aspect in your business, in your self-employment creation, it is going to make its way eventually out to everyone around you and to your bank account. Now, we've got a number of shows coming up where we're going to be talking more deeper diving into the business. Next week, we're going to talk about what the heck is business anyways. And then we're going to talk about afraid to start due to attached responsibilities, and then proving you're doing business by hard work instead of smart. We've got a lot of different topics. And what I'd love for you to do this week is I'd love for you to start playing with the possibility of doing that in your business. So anytime that you see something or somebody is talking about what they do, ask yourself, would that be fun for us to play with? Or look at the things that light you up or that really lit you up in the beginning before you actually hung up your shingle, as they talk about in your own business. Look at the things that got you excited. Is there something that you've left behind in that joy that you had before? Is there somewhere that someone turned that idea away from your mind because it didn't seem like it would make money? What if you didn't have to know how it would make you money, but that it would bring you joy? What if, just like me today, that first time I was asked about producing, where I was making about $7 or $8 an hour producing, what if I looked at what it was creating and not just at the financial bottom line? What if you started to play with the possibilities of what you could do with a creation in order to get you to the next stage of creation? So when you are lit up and you're turned on, it's so interesting how, and I'm sure you've heard of the law of attraction, is when you're lit up and turned on, more opportunities will be attracted to you because of the energy that you are being. But if you are in the energy of frustration and sadness and overwhelm and debt, okay, I tell you 100%, that is what you are going to create more of. I'm not saying put on a false face. What I'm saying is go play. Go have some fun. Even go out and get your nails done. Go and play on a swing. Turn on some music and dance. Allow joy to permeate your world and watch what starts to change in your creations. All right? This will change everything for you and start to unlock the places and spaces where you can actually receive greater than you've ever received before in your business. My friends, thank you so much for being here today. No matter what's going on in your business, no matter what you've ever said you're going to do, I want you to know that you can always make another choice. If you'd like to connect with me, Christine at inspiredchoices.ca, and mention the show tonight, and you will get a half an hour at no charge at all. Take care, my friends. Bye for now.
Thank you for choosing to listen to Inspired Choices Radio Show. Christine McIver will return next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Until then, be willing to choose what you really desire. This is your life, making the choices that bring you all that you desire.